One of the highlights of the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa is Superpole, and for 2026 we have a new format, 4 elements to Superpole. The fastest 32 drivers, or the fastest 32 cars from last night's 4-part qualifying session go into Superpole, and we halve it for Superpole 2, and we halve it again for Superpole 3, and we halve it for Superpole 4. We go from 32 to 4, and effectively a 1-lap shootout to round out what will determine the grid. Now, also yesterday we had penalties being applied and people changing engines and therefore having to start from the pit lane, so the order is already a little bit garbled from what we had yesterday, but we are looking forward hugely to the first 10 minutes when 32 drivers will venture out. Same driver if you get through all 4 elements, so it's 1 driver for Superpole. They will do as many segments as the car is fast enough to engage in, and it's 1 set of tyres as well. So if you get into Superpole 4, that set of tyres will know it has done some work. David Addison and Joe Osborne are trackside, so too are hundreds of thousands of fans. It feels like Spa is absolutely heaving this weekend, and despite incredibly high temperatures, there is great enthusiasm for sitting out in the sunshine and enjoying what promises to be a really dramatic qualifying session to determine the pointy end of the grid for what is going to be the 3rd endurance race of GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS, and also the 3rd round of Intercontinental GT Challenge. We're getting ready then for Superpole 1.
I'm so excited for this. We've never seen a format like this, for drivers to go out in qualifying and not have a new set of tyres is on. So this first part of Superpole, they're on new tyres. Everyone's the same. It's called set 0. It's an extra set above the 30 allowed to the teams over this week of racing. So these teams can use them. They can't be used again after this session, just to clear up any admin. But what you do as a driver, you've got to be in the top 16 to get through. But if you give it everything and you destroy the tyre, then they stop you getting through the next phase. But if you go too slow and you don't get through, you look like a bit of a Osborne.
Yes. So Superpole 1 is about not being slow. After that, it's about being quick. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, and it's going to be hard for the drivers, hard for the team setup-wise. Where do you go setup-wise? Is it more of a quali because you're in qualifying, or is it more of a race? Because you could be having your 7th flying lap in Superpole 4 as what determines you to be pole overall for this 24-hour race tomorrow with 69 cars on the grid.
Decisions. So, there's 1 driver nominated for each car. Boots and VDS number 2 will put Maurice Scheuring into the car. Verstappen Racing, Jules Gounon. Freddie Tomlinson goes for Optimum. Cesar Gazzo for Bartone Get Speed. At Comtu, Matthew Drudy, there he is, in the Boots and VDS number 10 Porsche, Gilles Magnus. Yannick Mettler goes for Team Motor Park. For Schumacher CLRT, Ian Guven. He could be a good bet. For Team RJN, Ben Durr. Ivan Klimenko goes for Santalock. Jordan Pepper in 32, Team WRT BMW. Valkenhorst, Christian Cronjes. Interestingly, not Enrique Chavez, who did Superpole last year, crashed and took the car out of the race. Josh Rattican for Greystone. For Rinaldi, David Perel. Max Hesser in the so-called Rossi BMW, number 46. Lucas Auer in the yellow man Phil to Mercedes. Arthur Leclerc, Alessio Rovera, Jeff Machiels for AF Corsa. Thomas Fleming and Marvin Kirchhofer for Garage 59. For TGI Team by GRT, Mirko Bortolotti. The HRT Mustang, Arjun Maini for Attempto. It's going to be Ariel Levi, Frederick Schantor for Selected Car Racing. Ferrari number 71, Dennis Marshall in the Kessel 74 Ferrari, Ricardo Feller for Lion Speed in the Porsche, for Rutronics Lamborghini, Patrick Niederhauser, Rover Racing's BMW, Raffaele Marciello, Alex Arca in the family Trezor Attempto Audi, and the other Rover Racing car, local hero Ugo de Wilde. We're in business, 10 minutes, 32 cars, let's go.
Going to be thick and fast, isn't it? By the time we finish the outlap, there'll be under 8 minutes remaining, so they should only have time for 3 time laps. A few surprises on some of the Superpole drivers for me. The 48 car here, Lucas Auer not taking Stolt or Mara-Engel. That's interesting. You can see the message there about drinking. If you're here at the racetrack, it is so warm, 35 degrees. There are 12 refilling stations around the circuit. We can refill water for free. It is so warm. I've actually had a text from the Belgian government reminding me to look after the elderly and the vulnerable, so that's why I'm here for you, David.
Oh, I'm ever so grateful. If you could pass me a drink, that would be lovely. So, downhill they come for this outlap. This is 10 minutes. The next 2 parts will be 7, and then Superpole 4, 4 minutes. And as Joe's been making the point, one set of tyres has got to get you through the entirety of this. The cars are going to get lighter, of course, on fuel as well. So, in theory, you're going to end up with a real weapon in terms of weight for SP4, but might not be on an ideal set of tyres anymore. The other question is, how many laps do you do? Do you stay out for the entirety of the 10 minutes and try to respond, or do you just do a banker and hope it's good enough to get you through and preserve some tyre life?
That's in the dream world. You're going to have to be disciplined with yourself. Can you improve? If it's no, you've got to box. And even your in-lap, I think it's worth slowing down to not take any energy out of those tyres. Traffic management's going to be key. Still got 32 cars out there on track, 200 metres of space each. And at the moment is this line speed Porsche with the best chance. Pit exit still quite busy though, so potentially fella here going to get some cars on their outlaps as he starts his first attack lap of this amazing Superpole format.
Right, so Ricardo Fella across the line. Then behind him you've got David Perel, and it looks like Ivan Klimenko is next up in that red, white and blue Santa Lock Audi. So let's keep an eye on Ricardo Fella then. Sprint Cup winner at Brands Hatch. They've had a bit of bad luck though, the Lion Speed team, stepping up to pro really for the first time this year. But this is a really competitive car. Bastien Bous, Thomas Preining, the other two drivers, all of the three are title winners across either one-make GT-style cars or GT racing. Thomas Preining, for example, the DTM champion, but Ricardo Fella has been a silver champion in GT World Challenge Endurance. He's been a sprint champion as well. And here, the run up towards Les Combes. He is about to start to piece together this first effort in Superpole. He sets the benchmark Sector 1 time, which straight away is demolished as others, such as David Perel, go quicker behind him. Yeah, that Sector 1 needs to be a low 39, if not a high 38. Hard to call at the moment. Track temperature 55 degrees. The track is not going to be fast. What do we think pole's going to be? Yesterday we were 16.6 in quali. You can see the lack of grip from the Porsche already. This is the best the tyre's ever going to be, and it already looks so loose. I think pole could be as high as a high 17 in these massive conditions we're facing right now. So downhill into Pouhon comes number 80 Porsche. You can see Ariel Levi in the Audi behind. Number 66 has gone absolute best in Sector 1, and that was a quick car yesterday. The Audis do seem to like that first sector of the lap. Rutronics, Lamborghini in the background. Patrick Niederhauser at the wheel of it. Ricardo Fella then turning his way through Piff Paff. He was out first. That's why he is the first person through the sectors. But what's the peril of being out first? You catch the slower cars that were out last, and look up the road. There are other cars in the vicinity, one of which is the Rover BMW Raffaele Marciello's car, and Fella here might find that traffic actually distorts things for him. Yeah, the drivers in front, luckily for him, are world-class drivers, of course, so they will be aware. The engineers telling them as well. Maybe that's forcing them to have a faster outlap than they wanted. I would have thought the outlap wanted to be quite slow. The tyres coming out hot in the ovens. Again, this Porsche looks lively, doesn't it? It's rear tyre limited, it seems, for this rear-engine Porsche. It's like one or two drivers doing sort of two prep laps, and Fella nearly getting his nose chopped off by Marciello, who does not want to give up track position. So Ricardo Fella is about to offer up the benchmark lap, 2:19.6, but I think Ariel Levi in the Audi, who's traffic free, went out a bit later, and he's going to look a little bit faster as he comes up towards the line. So Fella on a 2:19, Ariel Levi actually goes slower, 2:20.112. David Perel was a 2:19.6. Alex Arca goes up to third in the background. Freddie Tomlinson in the 2:20s in the orange McLaren, he's fifth. But yeah, Fella oh so nearly came to grief. Yeah, as we go on Kirchhofer, remember he was on pole position in the main qualifying and then Superpole. He was driving like a man possessed last year, wasn't he? It was the Sector 3 that was phenomenal. He seems to have a slightly different line to everyone. The local drivers and the German guys seem to love the apex curve at 18 more than anyone, but Kirchhofer seems to launch it, but yet the car seems to be so subtle. So we've got one fast corner left of the lap. This is Blanchimont. This should be flat for the McLaren of Kirchhofer. It's the next right we need to keep an eye on. How much curbs he's going to use, and this at the moment is a lap that's going to put him right in the mix. Remember, we lose half of the cars that are in this, so it's 16 that progress, and as Kirchhofer runs deep into the chicane, Guillaume Oliveira's McLaren being looked at for a pit exit road infringement. Up towards the line then comes Kirchhofer, a bit scrappy at the end, goes fourth fastest. Yeah, he didn't do what I was expecting on the apex curb. He fired it in too deep. I think he outbroke himself and had to get it together. This was a car that was super strong yesterday, wasn't it? The Ferrari of Leclerc, the 50 and the 51 were super strong at times, but the pace is nowhere. 19.5 at the moment is quickest. The fastest lap of the race last year was a 2:17 with 2.5 seconds off that, and that is all condition led, as Rivera in the 51 backs up my point about the 50 and 51 being strong. Yeah, Ferraris have looked good all across the weekend, whether it's free practice or qualifying last night. And Arthur Leclerc in 50, heading to the line. Alessio Rovere in 51, going better than anybody in that middle sector. Leclerc goes second then. And Tom Fleming briefly fastest. Rovere now the fastest of all. And Alessio Rovere does a 2:18.330. So right now we lose Yannick Mettler, Mirko Bortolotti, Mattia Drudi, Ben Dort, Lucas Auer. We've yet to get laps from Gounon, Tomlinson, Guven, Klimenko, Cronjes, Hesse, Niederhauser, Marciello, Acker and De Wilde. This is going to go, effectively the shuffling is going to go to the last car over the line.
Yeah, as Levi gets all over that curb. I was talking that, I thought Kirchhoff would. Sector 1, the Audi sector, isn't it? We saw this last night in qualifying. It's a better sector 2 from Levi, and that gets him up to second overall. You would have thought that lap's got him through to the final 16 quite easily.
Alex Archer is now 16th. He's the one on the bubble, as it were. And Freddie Tomlinson is 17th. And it's Scharnhoff, Magnus. Jordan Pepper is only 21st. Niederhauser 22nd. Mattia Drudi a long, long way back as well. So there you can see that cut-off of 16th. And it's now Ivan Klimenko who is on the bubble, because Ariel Levi, second fastest, has shuffled that pack again. Guven now goes up to 16th. Einstein Guven gets in. Dennis Marshall's already safe, 6th fastest, but can he make sure that he's safe and go even faster? He comes up towards the line and he stays 6th.
Everyone crossing the line now. This is their last lap. Drudi needs something as well. You could see him going super deep in front of the Ferrari who were on board with Dennis Marshall. Here's Mirko Bortolotti, race winner last year in the 63 Grasser car, but that was a Huracan, and this new Tamario seems to be struggling at the moment, up to 24th, not good enough.
Ariel Levi's had a lap taken off him for track limit offences, so he drops out of the top 16. And Max Hesse now is the one that is on the bubble. As you look at Jordan Pepper heading up towards the left of Blanchimont, so Jordan Pepper is 26th, and he was down in the first sector. This has got to be a mighty effort then. He will squeeze one more lap out of it. Question is whether the tyres have got another lap in them. So here comes Pepper towards the chicane. It is Rovere from Fleming, Scharnhoff, Leclerc, Arjun Mainy's Mustang, Dennis Marshall's Ferrari, the top 6. Pepper 26th, now 27th. He heads up towards the line. Is this going to be good enough for him? Marciello now is on the bubble, and Pepper is in. He goes 14th, and that forces out Marciello and Guven and Hesse. Yeah. Some big names have gone.
He's only got 2 spaces behind him, though. Hesse has got the chance to do the sister car. 46 versus 32, the car that Rossi shares with. It's scrappy from Hesse. Everyone's struggling to get it stopped for that last corner. These tyres have no grip.
I'm surprised as well how many big names are the wrong side of that line. Hesse goes through 18th, he misses out. Max Hesse does not progress unless he can do anything on his last lap, because he's got time for one more. Marciello goes 16th, then he's on the bubble, but he's in. He forces out Josh Rattican, unless anybody else squeezes him out of that top 16. Einstein Guven is the next one in 22 Porsche. He's down to 20th. He's coming up towards the chicane. Last year's DTM champion Guven, we know, is an absolute weapon in a Porsche. This is a crucial lap.
We don't have any BMWs in the top 16 now. They're all out. None of them seem to be improving either. What a lap from Fleming, I've got to say, in second overall.
Let's see what the BMs can do on their last lap, as Guven misses out as well. He's 18th, but he's just squeezed another lap out of the session.
Kirchhoff
is out 17th, but he's got another lap. He's got time for one more at least if the tyres are willing. Christian Cronjes 26th, up towards the line. 23rd, no chance. Drudi 31st, winner 2 years ago. Mattia Drudi up towards the timing line. The Aston had a tough day yesterday, and Mattia Drudi breaks the beam. 23rd fastest. It's just not coming as he takes the checkered flag, so he has no last opportunity. This is Mirko Bortolotti, winner last year, and he's been a bit frustrated with the relative pace of the new Temerario this season. Kirchhoff is out, but he's still pushing. Look, he's on a personal best middle sector. To the line comes Bortolotti. He breaks the beam. 20th. He will not be happy. Kirchhoff over the line. 16th. He's just done it by the skin of his teeth, but I don't think he's safe, because you've got Maurice Schuring heading up towards the line. Look at the Porsche. And we wait to see if there's any more change. Schuring, I don't think, has got in. He hasn't. He stays 17th. We've got Marciello doing good things in sectors. This is Yannick Mettler, 27th. So he's got a lot of work to do. But still, a lot of cars have not taken the flag yet. Mettler goes through to the pit lane. Heads number 6 Mercedes then. So that done for this part of the session is... Cesar Gazzo 5th. That was a really good effort. Now Jordan Pepper, last roll of the dice. He misses out. 18th for number 32. The WRT car misses out. Now what about Max Hesse? 23rd. And on this lap, Hesse was good in sector 1, but down in sector 2, exactly the same as Marciello's BMW. Good in a straight line up towards Lecon, struggling elsewhere. And Hesse, in an almost lethargic-sounding BMW, comes up towards the line. Is it good enough? The answer as he breaks the beam is no. He stays 23rd. Marciello, 21st at the chicane, and he needs to be 16th or better as he breaks the beam, and he stays 21st as well. Now, we rather miss Jules Gounon in all of that, but Jules went 7th, and Ariel Levi on his last lap has done an absolute best sector 1, but he was down in sector 2. 66 Audi heads to the line, and Ariel Levi in the end stays 9th quickest.
I enjoyed that format, but look at the scalps that have been claimed. Wow. Schuring, Pepper, Guven, Bortolotti, Marciello, Rattigan I thought would be better there. Hesse, Drudy, Cronjes. It is a who's who, isn't it? Niederhauser is out as well, as is Jeff McKeels in the 52 AF course as we look at the 50 and the 51. 9
of your 16 are from gold, silver or bronze. 9 out of 16. So do the math and see how many of the Pro Cup cars have missed out. But Alessio Rovera is top, and he's top by 0.4 of a second. The other one to point out, Dennis Marshall, the only bronze car that got through into Superpole, is into the final 16. They're going to have a huge advantage, aren't they, over the 87 Winwood car, which was in second place. I think that was 35th overall. So that's a massive win there for the Kessel Ferrari of Dennis Marshall. Better just make the point, though, that for a bronze entry, you only need one bronze driver in the Bronze Cup. It doesn't have to be all bronzes. So Dennis Marshall is a high-graded driver. But even so, what Joe makes is absolutely valid. It's a great effort, and it gives them an advantage going into race day. Dennis Marshall platinum graded, but there are going to be some very grumpy people, I think, up and down the pit lane. As now we go again with the surviving 16, and this time they only get 7 minutes, so effectively one fewer lap. Yeah, exactly, as we're going to get the results, but you can see Hesse looking pretty dejected there, and on the in-lap not even bothering to take a drink, and that's what the crowd are being advised to do in these hot weather conditions. Alessio Rovera then is the fastest from Tom Fleming, and then third fastest Arthur Leclerc. Frederick Schantorf fourth ahead of Cesar Gazzo, then Arjun Maini, Jules Gounon 7th, Dennis Marshall 8th, Ariel Levi ahead of Lucas Auer, Alex Arca, Ben Dur, good effort, Guillaume Oliveira, Ricardo Feller, David Perel and Marvin Kirchhoffer are your 16. So Maurice Schuring misses out, Jordan Pepper, Aenshin Guven I'm surprised about, he goes, Mirko Bortolotti, Raffaele Marciello, Josh Rattigan, Max Hesse, Mathieu Drudy, Christian Cronjes, Freddie Tomlinson has gone. So have Yannick Meckler, Gilles Magnus, Hugo de Wilde, Ivan Klimenko, Jeff McKeels, and Patrick Niederhauser not only goes, but he was the slowest of the lot, the reigning endurance champion. Yeah, just looking at some of the laps done. So Rivera fastest only did 3 laps. The majority did 4. Cesar Gazzo also got through on only 3 laps. Interestingly, Ben Dorr and Lucas Auer both did 5 laps. So they've got another 14 kilometres on their tyres compared to Rivera. And that's going to start to stack up as we get through this session. Next session, like you said, David, 7 minutes. So she'd only have time for 2 flyers. So the time you've got to do your time gets even harder. Remember, track limits prevalent here. 1 track limit, you lose the whole lap. You made the point earlier about the tyres having to do the entirety of Superpole. Does that have a slight advantage if you progress because you've got warmth in them? You don't need to waste as much time getting tyre temperatures and pressures up, or does it not really matter? It doesn't matter. I didn't see many cars doing a second prep lap. Most seem to go on their first flyer, so you're only losing time. The balance changes. Drudy here struggled, didn't he? 24th, missed the cut by a long way. This car feels like only yesterday it was a winner. The Dane train with Drudy as a token Dane in that lineup with Sorensen and Nicky Thiem, and a lot of the cars just seem to be struggling ever so slightly. You would say the temperature seems to be favouring the mid-engine cars slightly more than those front-engine cars. Right, water bottle in hand, fans get ready. And the message for the fans looking at the big screen is what you're seeing as well, to drink regularly, protect yourself from the sun. And that's the message to the fans trackside. I suspect if you're watching at home, you may well have a beer as well, given how hot it is across all of Europe. It's just you and me, then, that don't seem to be partaking, Joe. Right, the cars make their way ready for the start of Superpole 2. Dejected drivers trudged down the pit lane, and 1 or 2 might be thinking, well, we're in for a long 24 hours. Yeah, exactly. If you can't get in that top 16, Jordan Pepper on your left and Marciello now on your left as we swap round. Different teams, but both BMW drivers will be comparing notes, I'm sure, and the long trudge down pit lane. Winners both of this event. Raffaele for Mercedes AMG and Jordan last year as a Lamborghini driver. Right, it's a long race, so even if you are not in the continuation of Superpole. Doesn't necessarily mean your weekend is over, but I'm surprised, genuinely surprised, Ian Schenguven's Porsche didn't make it through the Schumacher CLRT car, CLRT being the Cohen-Ledegar racing team. And Ian Schenguven made his Le Mans debut a couple of weeks back. Gets to the part of the garage where he can take off his helmet and talk to the team, but he'll be frustrated with that because Guven is a very, very good peddler.
Yeah, and he's mega over a lap, isn't he? We see him able to hustle a lap time out of a car so often. That's so impressive. But yeah, I said about the pace at the start of the session, thought it might be a high 17 and 18.3, and that should only now get slower. I think it's probably going to drop off maybe to an 18.7 for this session. Now they've got no new tyre hit whatsoever. Less fuel, yes, but the tyre is a much more important factor to lap time than a slight less amount of fuel.
And bear in mind as well that it's the time you carry from the part of Superpole in which you are eliminated. So if, for example, you do a better time in Superpole 1 than Superpole 3, hard luck, you just count the time from that final bit you took part in. The Gold Cup entered, number 58 McLaren, is in the hands of Tom Fleming. We've gone green for Superpole 2, but Bryn Lucas has found a not-so-happy Jordan Pepper. Let's hear his thoughts.
I imagine you're pretty disappointed. You wanted to get through. I mean, yesterday I think you were 15th quickest overall anyway, so it was always going to be tight for you.
Yeah, I mean, realistically speaking, we've had no pace all week, so team's done an incredible job, to be fair. That was a really nice BMW to drive out there. Handling was really good, so happy with that. We made some good steps over the weekend, but unfortunately, yeah, just not in the same league as the others. We tried everything we could. Lap itself was pretty good. I think maybe left a half a tenth or a tenth out there, which could have been enough, but I'm not going to grasp on those straws because we're way off. We're much further off than that.
It's a long race ahead though, so get your head down, rest up, and we'll see you back here again.
Yeah, I mean, last year we won it from far down, but we had pace, so it will be interesting to see what we can do this year.
Good luck.
But Jordan's an experienced driver. He knows that with safety cars, with pit strategy, with who knows, there's a storm forecast, I think, for tomorrow night. It could be a completely different story. And WRT also knows how to win races. It doesn't actually have that great a strike record at Spa, perversely, home circuit and all that. I think the last WRT win was back in 2014, but there's so much experience there.
Yeah, there's an interesting shot, actually, where Bryn stopped him. It was right by the 63 Lamborghini, which he was aboard last year. And you would say his move away from that project to BMW with a WRT car would have given him the best chance to win this race back-to-back years. But I would say that is going to be a long ask at the moment. You would say from Jordan's conversation and body language is he's saying that's all we've got and there's nothing else to give. So the team will, of course, get on the blower to see what else performance-wise they can unlock.
Yeah, Jordan has been a winner for BMW in the NLS this year. Anyway, we're already down to 5 minutes of our 7 for Superpole 2 as the Ferrari number 51 of Alessio Rovera comes out of the chicane. Rovera has been an absolute missile this weekend. Let's ride with him.
So we fire into the first of 19 corners here. La Source, joint slowest of the lap. We have to get on the brakes hard, all the way down to first gear. Rotate the car 180 degrees, full throttle, trust the traction control. And now we're falling downhill at an alarming rate of knots. The speed building, we're going to hit 200 Ks underneath the gantry. And now Eau Rouge, easy flat through the left. We're going to listen in to see if he lifts for the right. Completely pinned. You can hear the revs die ever so slightly. That's only from the scrub of the steering and the uphill gradient. We're still going uphill all the way down the Camel Straight. Should get 262, 263 kilometers an hour before we have to hit the brakes hard for LeCun. Brake at the start of the curb on the left. 259 was our VMAX. Get it in over the curb, close as you can to the gravel. Take all the tarmac and more on the left. Slight breathe out the throttle to get the nose in. Hard on the gas now, up to the gravel once more. Now downhill into Brussels. Couple of line options here. You can V the corner off, or you can take the shorter distance and make a U shape out of it. We're doing the V. We're creating a second apex, hard on the throttle, over to the right. Touch the curb to help the car turn into the left. Pick up the throttle hard once more. You can see the car starting to get looser on the rear. We're losing rear tyre grip more than the front, it seems. Short, sharp brake for Pouan. 2 lefts here. Grab the first one now, commit to full throttle way before you can see the exit curve. Speed again, 200 kilometers an hour and rising. We have to get over quickly to the left for Piff Baff. There's a few options here on curb usage as well. The inside gets worn away, and that's where we see the mud brought up. And Rovera's got a great car here, able to manipulate the car to place it where he wants. Into Stavolo 1. Again, this is a short break. Important to unwind the lock to start to build the speed. Going to listen again to see if he's flat through the second part. Completely flat. A slight short shift there, which was a wise move, just to take the torque out of third gear. So again, we're flat now all the way. We've only got one more break of the lap. Blanchimont out of the three, Eau Rouge, Stavelot 2 and Blanchimont. Rovra is going to be flat through here, and we've got to commit. Again, track limits will be prevalent, entry and exit. One more break to go. This is where you get greedy as a driver. Try to brake too late, you go in hard here. The drivers want to get to this apex curve on the right, which he does beautifully. Brings it into the left. He'll open up the steering wheel. A straight car accelerates quicker than a car with steering lock. What's the time going to be? There's 2:18.7, 0.3 off his fastest in Q1, but fastest overall at the moment.
That's the target time. Before we get to the rest of them, quick question for you. This has come via social media from Elizabeth, who would like to know, and you'll have the answer, does this cool and heat cycle ruin the rubber rather than it being a continuous slog on that set of tyres, for example?
It's definitely a factor. It hardens it, it sort of vulcanizes it, but I think because it's so warm and the brake's staying so hot, we're not getting a full heat cycle.
Okay.
So I hope that answers your question back at home, Elizabeth.
So, Arthur Leclerc up towards the timing line. Alessio Rovera's target, 2:18. Dennis Marshall, Alex Arca have also gone through. Remember, this is where we're losing another 8 of them, so we're halving it again. 16 progressed, 8 will progress, and Guillermo Oliveira, they're almost drift style coming out of the chicane.
This is so unknown for the drivers to be able to deliver one lap time on a used tyre. Interesting, it's going to give us a really great data set for who's quick over a stint, which isn't normally something you can glean from a qualifying session. Here's Lucas Auer in the 48, the Winward man filter car. What's he going to be able to do? Look at the clock already tipping up a 2:19.7, goes fourth, but the gap's at the moment quite big. He's fourth, but 9 tenths off, and we've still got six times to come from cars setting it. As Kirchhoff across the line to go fifth. What's Fleming going to be able to do in the 58 sister car?
It's going to be up there, isn't it, given the way that he's gone thus far this weekend. He goes over the timing line, goes second. You've also got Ariel Levi doing an absolutely monster first sector, as the Audi off does. 71 coming up towards the timing line now is Frederick Schandorf. So you've got Rovera, Fleming, Leclerc, Marshall, Gounon, Kirchhoff, Auer and Arca, your 8. Arjun Mainy's Mustang is about to growl its way up towards the line, and where's that going to put him then as he breaks the beam? 9th, that's not going to be good enough. That's first loser, effectively. Arjun Mainy's the first one at the minute to miss the cut.
Exactly, and this is their last flyer for everyone. It's gone quickly, hasn't it? So interestingly, it's going to see what the Porsche can do. The only Porsche that's made it into this second part of Superpole is this 80 Lion Speed car. Porsche have been struggling this weekend with engines. Quite a few teams having to change engines. I'm sure the temperature isn't helping, and at the moment the Lion Speed car stays 14.
In the interest of balance, one should point out we've had an Aston Martin engine change. We've also had a Mercedes engine change as well. Right, this is Ariel Levi. The flag is out. That's the end already of Superpole 2, so this has got to be the lap of the session for Ariel Levi. There are others yet to come to take the flag, so all is not lost for the likes of Feller or Schandorf, who are way, way back. But can Ariel Levi now get himself into that magic 8? Checkered flag at the ready for him as he goes through, and Ariel Levi breaks the beam, goes second fastest. That's a very, very good effort indeed. Now Ben Dorr 11th, he's going to miss out because he takes the flag. David Perel 13th to the line, he'll break the beam and go 11th, and that's not quite good enough. Arthur Leclerc 4th, he comes to the line. Leclerc is still 4th, but he's in.
Yep, he's safe as we go to the optimum car of Oliveira. Lots of curb on the inside. This is where we saw him drift last time. We picked him up. Car much better here. 13th at the moment. Can he make it? 3 McLarens in the top 8. As he crosses the line? No.
And this is a car that went well in SP1. Cesar Gazzo up towards the timing line. He's dropped down to 14th. He breaks the beam and he's 9th and just misses out. Now, what about Lucas Auer? 10th. Come on, this is the car that has Mauro Engel, joint IGTC Championship leader, as part of the crew. It's got to get in, and it does. It goes 5th quickest. That's all right.
Really, really good. So Kirchhoff is on the bubble. Now he crosses the line. He doesn't improve. He stays 8th. Whoa. Just looking down the timing screens of anyone else that's potentially going to improve. It's just Marnie and Feller at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. So Ricardo Feller is the danger that could bump him out. This is Frederick Schandorf. He actually hasn't done a lap time, so this could be another crucial one. Schandorf could just have a go at being in the top 8 and therefore displays Kirchhoff to the line. Comes the Ferrari, and Frederick Schandorf is 6th. He's in and Kirchhoff is out. This is Arjun Mainy, who is now 12th in the times in the Ford Mustang that pals its way towards the beam, and Mainy stays 12th. Right, all eyes on Ricardo Feller, but he's not been looking good. Sector 1 was slow, Sector 2 was slow. I don't think Feller's even going to complete the lap on the track.
No, I'd say not. And Schandorf didn't have a time because he lost his previous one to track limits, so he had nothing on the board. That was all in in from Schandorf, and he does a good job to make it 4 Ferraris in the top 8. And we're looking at Kirchhoffer. He will be gutted. He's just been told over the radio, I'm sure, from Garage 59, you're not in the top 8 after being pole position for last year's 24-hour race.
So down towards Bruxelles comes a frustrated Marvin Kirchhoffer. Turns his way out of Bruxelles, but Alessio Rovera is having an absolutely dream weekend thus far, and that margin, again, 0.4 of a second. But how good are these Trezor Attempto Audis? We often joke about them being in the historic class, or, you know, being an older car, but then we counter it by saying in the right hands they can still deliver, and that's exactly what they've done this weekend.
Yeah, last time out at Monza proved that, and Sector 1 is the one sector you want to be fast at here at Spa. It's where all the overtaking can be done, so they're going to be a weapon in the race. Just thinking about Kirchhoffer, he's quite a long way off his teammate, and that isn't something we've ever said about Kirchhoffer. 3/10 to Fleming. Remember, this is a brand new chassis from Monza after it was destroyed for the 59.
So at the end of SP2, Alessio Rovera is the fastest by 0.4 from Ariel Levi and then Tom Fleming. Arthur Leclerc 4th from Lucas Auer, then Frederick Schandorf, Jules Gounon 7th, and that bronze cup car, the one in Superpole, Dennis Marshall in the Kessel Ferrari, he's made it through. Rovera is the best in pro, best silver is Levi, best gold is Fleming, best bronze is Marshall, and he is getting further and further away from the rest of the bronze class on this grid. The ones that miss out are Marvin Kirchhoffer, Alex Arca, Cesar Gazot, Arjun Maini, David Parel, Ben Dur, Guillaume Oliveira, and surprisingly, Ricardo Feller in what is becoming a rather bleak afternoon for Porsche.
So where do we think the next part of Superpole is going to go? Which 4 are going to make it? Which 4 are going to get knocked out and not get to partake in the very last session? Next session, exactly the same layout in terms of time, 7 minutes again. So we saw a mix of 2 and 3 time laps for cars there. Rivera having to do 3 that time, 1 more than the second place Levi.
And Levi is now confirmed on silver pole, unless there's anything in the system like a penalty that comes his way. But that's the only silver car to progress. We've got a 2-way shootout for gold, haven't we, between Tom Fleming and Frederick Schandorf. So silver confirmed for Levi. We knew that the bronze pole was always going to go the way of Dennis Marshall, given how rapidly he was going last night. So we're good to go, and Alessio Rovera gets set then. So it's going to be for Superpole 3, our final 8 to be whittled away to 4. 7 minutes will be on the clock once again. Rovera, Levi, Fleming, Leclerc, Auer, Schandorf, Gounon and Marshall. They are the 8, and we're going to lose 4 of them. Any offers as to which 4 might go? Is that an unfair question?
The Ferrari looks strong, doesn't it? And they're dominating half of the cars that are left. Fleming has been strong. I just worry about the Mercs. This is mad to say, I can't see Auer and Gounon getting through. I feel like they've lucked through already. So they're 2 of my 4 that I'm going to potentially say aren't going to make it. And then I wonder about Schandorf. He was struggling with track limits. So they're all out there to play, but you would say at the moment Rivera seems to have the upper hand as the fans wisely are choosing the shaded area over the sunny part of that amazing grandstand built a few years back on the exit of Eau Rouge.
Hat tip to all of our cameramen that have been, and camera girls, who've been out in the elements pretty much all day, and they're doing a great job. Santans are coming on immeasurably, but they are also coping with these intense temperatures. Temperature 34.7 degrees. Now humidity 31% as well. And before we get to SP3, let us hear from Marvin Kirchhoffer, a rueful Marvin Kirchhoffer potentially, and he's got Bryn Lucas to talk to.
Well, Marvin, we knew it was going to be tricky because the car is a new tub and everything like that from last time at Monza, and yesterday's performance seemed to be maybe an eye of what it could do.
Yeah, to be honest, we've been a bit on the back foot since we started on Tuesday for the paid test session, and yeah, obviously at Monza, everyone knows the story. The car was pretty much done, and we didn't have any time to prep for this race. Basically starting from scratch, but some unique conditions I think no one really experienced before here didn't make our life easier. So we've been on the back foot pretty much all weekend. It's good to see the sister car at least processing into the 3rd round of Superpole. Yeah, but definitely a tough one and less than ideal.
It is tricky for you, but perhaps given all the circumstances and what you came into this round with, this is actually not a bad result to be where you're going to be starting tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, it could be worse, but at the same time, I think we've got a good package. My teammates, Joseph and Dean, they've done an outstanding job yesterday. getting us into the Superpole today. But yeah, we just seem to lack the last 2-3 tenths on our competitors, and it's very frustrating because we've tried many different things and didn't find a fix to it yet. But I know we will sit down tonight and try and make it a better race car for tomorrow.
Very best of luck.
Thank you.
Lots of drivers from different brands all saying we're a long way off the pace, or we haven't got the pace, or we need to try a few more things. There's a general amount of head scratching as to where the pace is and how some have unlocked it.
Yeah, that's a fair comment. And just looking at the stat that we said about yesterday, that 4 cars that were on pole position from qualifying have taken Superpole. That's taken away from us this year, wasn't it? 17 Mercedes. That was fastest last night. Got thrown out on a technical infringement for changing that rear right brake disc we saw.
Yeah, the work wasn't permitted by the stewards. They shouldn't have done it, or they should have asked permission first. So they lost their lap times from Q3, which was the element in which that work was done, and therefore without the full complement of times to average out, then you've got to start from the back of the grid. 1 or 2 others have changed an engine before qualifying last night. They will start from the pit lane. Blackthorn, that changed an engine after qualifying, gets a effectively 2.5-minute stop-go penalty for changing the engine. So they'll be lucky to stay on the lead lap.
Seems unfair, doesn't it? I always think that rule. And maybe there needs to be a penalty, but then to be put a lap down.
Yeah, pit lane start's almost better, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, a long way. If you're outside the top 40, you sometimes would take it. Where do we think the lap times are going to be? 18.3 was fastest for Rovera in Q1, 18.7 in Q2, which was kind of my prediction. The gaps will start to get smaller, the drop away. I think it could be still in the 18s for a pole, maybe 18.9, so a couple of tenths slower than Q2, but these cars looking hard work, and the Ferrari seems to be looking after its tyre the most evenly out of everything.
The other car that we've been impressed by is the Audi. Now, are there similarities in shape, in style, in aero between a Ferrari and an Audi?
Mid-engine, I think, is the big one. Same with the McLaren as well. There's only a couple of Mercs that have made it with a front engine, and that was a nice touch. Schandorf in the Ferrari was in his Garage 59 suit from previous years, so it shows you Schandorf knows both the cars, the one he's in and the one behind him.
Tom Fleming has been mighty. He came out of Ferrari 1 mate racing. As soon as we saw him in GT World, we knew he was good. That's Lucas Auer in 48. So Luki, the nephew of Gerhard Berger, behind the wheel and upholding the honours of him, Mauro Engel and Lukas Stolz in that car. Reminder, Jules Gounod, Lucas Auer, Arthur Leclerc, Alessio Rovera, Tom Fleming, Ariel Levi, Frederick Schandorf and Dennis Marshall are the ones that we've got in Superpole 3, and then effectively the 4 that go into Superpole 4, they just get 1 lap.
Yeah, exactly. We're seeing cancellation of track limits already for car 74, so Marshall is going to lose a lap as we get the end of Sector 1. Rivera's time, 39.7. That should be good enough already at this lap to be somewhere in the mix. Again, just look at the balance, the poise of this 296 GT3 Evo. We rarely see it understeering, front end grip being lacking, oversteering, rear end grip lacking. It just seems to be able to place the car, and this was the car we did the onboard lap with, and it felt like that as well. Of course, the drivers are driving to the grip. It's very easy as a driver to push too hard into the corner too fast and provoke a reaction. But at the moment, I'm very impressed with the balance of this Ferrari.
Right, so downhill comes Alessio Rovera. His name on the Lumi rank is the short code, and he goes out of Pau having set that benchmark Sector 1 time, and already we're down to just over 3 minutes then as he comes towards Piff Paff. We talk about SP4 being a one-shot. This might be one shot for some as well, and the last thing you can afford to do now is waste a lap through track limits, and that's what Dennis Marshall did by running wide at turn 17, which is Blanchimont, and throwing away the lap time. But Rovera, absolute star in a Ferrari. Initially, he made his name in Porsche racing because he was a Carrera Cup Italy champion. But in a Porsche, he's been GT World Challenge Endurance champion. He's also been a winner in LMP2 prototypes in the European Le Mans series. He's very quick in Asian Le Mans as well. Whatever you put him in, Rovera just delivers. And here he is into the chicane. This will be the benchmark time. He has been quicker than anybody that's gone through that middle sector thus far. Half of the pack have. So let's see what he can do as he comes up towards the line. Then the car getting lighter on fuel, but tireder on tyres. And he breaks the beam on a 218.9.
That's kind of my prediction. So he's hitting that for the Ferrari crowd go mild in the garages. They know there's a long time of this session still to go. Leclerc 5 tenths slower, but second at the moment. Dennis Marshall third, so it's Ferrari 1, 2, 3. They're the only cars that have set lap times at the moment. Lucas Auer, at the moment, with his sectors, is going to be a mid-19, isn't he? Sector 3 is a good sector for Mercedes, so my early prediction on this is going to be a 19.4 for the 48.
Right, so the Mercedes AMG, which looks like it's got a bit more urgency to it, in fairness, than it did in SP2, coming up now into the chicane. So Lucas Auer riding the curve, accelerating up towards the timing line. Let's see what he's able to do here. Lucas Auer looking for something in the 218s, and he does a 219.6. It puts him third, but a very vulnerable third.
Yeah, exactly. Splits Marshall and Leclerc, but Marshall is on a lap at the moment. I hope we haven't got a bingo or drinking game of where we say Audi purple sector 1, because you're going to be in a bad state the next day. But it is good lap so far from Levi. This group goes second, I think, as he breaks the beam to go second. 4/10 off pole.
Right, so at the moment, we're over at Levi, Leclerc and Auer are the four that are through, but Frederick Schandorf's about to make amends out of all of that as he comes up to the timing line. So through goes the Ferrari, and Frederick Schandorf goes second, so Lucas Auer is out. He's got to go again, and he's just got time because there's less than a minute on the clock. This is Jules Gounon, and this is Jules' first effort then, so a double winner of the 24 Hours of Spa. Touches the curb coming in, steers away from the bulk of the curb on the other side of the chicane, and now makes the run up towards the line. A 2:18.9 or better is what he's aiming for, and Gounon goes sixth as he crosses the line, and that's not good enough, but he can go again.
There are 9 thousandths between the Mercedes. I thought it was going to be a struggle for them, and I still think Marshall's got a chance of getting in the top 4. Fleming, mega lap from him. That car is under investigation for its pit lane speed, though. That would be a real dark cloud, a bad way to potentially get knocked out of qualifying, as Marshall's got to get this lap in. I don't think he's going to squeeze another one in. Only 14 seconds on the clock.
It's marginal for the checkered flag, isn't it? Leclerc's just done the absolute best middle sector, as here up towards the line comes 74 Ferrari. And is this good enough for Dennis Marshall to get in? The answer is yes, he goes fourth. Is he going to stay there? Because Leclerc's on a mission. Leclerc goes second, he's in. Marshall's out, Levi's out, Gounon's out, Auer is out. And so too is the checkered flag.
Marshall just got in front of the flag, though, so he's got another lap if he wants it. As we go to the 48 car, it's not the best sector 1, but it's in the mix. It is a green sector 2, though, so this is going to be close. We need to find just over 2.5 tenths to make it.
Right, fill your glass. Audi, purple sector 1. Ariel Levi's done it again. First of all, we need to get Lucas Auer across the line, because right now he is the slowest of the 8, and it just doesn't look quick, does it? The car just doesn't seem to have the poise that the other cars have. The Ferraris and the Audis particularly, and the McLaren. Auer goes through and goes up to 7th, woohoo. But from 6th, Ariel Levi, absolute best, personal best. He's been brilliant this weekend. He's another driver that's been a Porsche champion. Squeaky brakes, he fights the car to a stop towards the chicane, goes right, goes left. Levi is 6th, and he's got to do better than a 2:19.2. Up towards the line he comes. Levi breaks the beam, he's in, he's 4th. It's tight, and Schandorf's already in. This is the man behind him. So now it's all eyes on Tom Fleming and then Dennis Marshall. Schandorf 3rd. Can he do better than that? We're looking at the sectors. The answer is no. Fleming 5th. He was down by thousandths in the mid-sector, so Fleming is the first victim. Can he get back into the top 4? He breaks the beam, and the answer is yes, he goes 3rd, and that pushes out Levi. This is Gounon.
Purple sector 2, I hope for him it wasn't a track limit induced sector, because there's so much time to find letting it run. This could be enough to get in the top 4. It's been an amazing sector 2 from Jules Gounon. The cut-off now, still the 19.2. What's it going to be?
Breaks the beam now, and he's in. He goes 4th and pushes out Schandorf. So we do get a Mercedes in. Fleming takes the gold pole at 3rd. Levi silver pole 6th. Marshall bronze pole at 7th. And the expressions of Maro Engel and Lukas Stolz say it all. Winward, a bit wayward. That Mercedes only 8th. And as Lucas Auer brings it back to the pit lane, Jules Gounon got in by the skin of his teeth. By 39 thousandths, he was ahead of Frederick Schandorf. We're not done yet. We've got the final 4 to go.
What could this car have done? I say that because it was the fastest out of everyone in Sector 3. It was a sector I highlighted as a strength for this car in the Mercedes, but just didn't seem to be able to hook a lap up. And the 19.4 was the best time, 2.5 tenths off the cutoff of the other Mercedes. But that car, obviously, from 2Cs, Verstappen.com, Jules Gounon. So we have 2 Ferraris, 1 McLaren and 1 Mercedes in our final 4.
Unless you're over by a narrower margin this time, 0.188 of a second. We're over at Leclerc, Fleming, Gounon, the top 4. Tom Fleming has found himself in very good company. This guy has been an absolute star, hasn't he, at Superpole? Ariel Levi for Arkin Arca's Trezor Attempto Racing team. Porsche Middle East champion, Porsche Sprint Challenge champion in Southern Europe, but he's becoming a real force in that Silver Cup in GT world.
Yeah, that last session sorted out 3 of our class pole positions, didn't it? Gold for Fleming, because he's the only gold car in the top 4. Levi for silver, and Dennis Marshall, finally we know our bronze class pole position will be P7.
But for Tom Fleming to get into that top 4, that is quite something. And that won't be lost to Marvin Kirchhoff, will it?
No,
the other
really
car.
won't. All Garage 59, Matt Griffin manages him, so he'll be happy with his student.
So it is Alessio Rovera in one of the best lineup on the grid. That is the fastest from Alfa Leclerc. Tom Fleming, gold pole winner. What can he do outright? Well, he can be no lower than 4th, barring a penalty for any description. Jules Gounon 4th. They go through. We lose Frederick Schandorf, Ariel Levi, Dennis Marshall, and Lucas Auer. So we have the last 4 over 4 minutes. That is now the final part of Superpole. It's been an interesting session. We're not done yet. Now it's about being quick, not about progressing. This is now for the top 2 rows on the grid. And a lap time is absolutely essential. Lots more racing to come at Spa this afternoon, but the very busy grandstands get set for Superpole 4.
Where's your money up?
I've still got to go Rovera. The way that he's gone all day, in fact all weekend thus far, he still looks so strong, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's been the fastest man in all 3 Superpole sessions up to this one. Where do I think the pole is going to be? We've been 18.3, 18.7, 18.9 in the 3 sessions respectively. Interestingly, Jules Gounon only getting back to pit lane, so it's going to be a quick turnaround as we see Leclerc in the sister car to Rivera having that big slide through the final chicane. It was a mega middle sector, wasn't it, for Leclerc at the end of that one? So he'll be hopeful too that he can take it away from the sister car.
You've got to go back to 2017 to find a Ferrari pole for the CrowdStrike, as it now is, 24 Hours of Spa. James Collado was the man that did the time in the old Kaspersky liveried 4.88. Gone through 4.58s to 2.96s, so it's been a barren period, even though Ferraris have had success in the races, not necessarily a pole position. Well, that could well change. They've got strength in numbers, 2 Ferraris, along with 1 McLaren and 1 Mercedes AMG. Good to go. We go green. Before we get to their 1 flying lap, let's just hear the thoughts of Lucas Auer. Bryn Lucas has found him.
Well, Lucas, you showed real amazing pace, particularly in Sector 3 there. It wasn't quite enough to get you through, but is this what you're expecting from the conditions and the car?
Sector 3 is only 2 corners, so it's the worst sector to be fast. But I am very happy with the team. Big thank you for the work up to here. Tomorrow is the big one. And I think we have a solid starting position, great teammates, great team, great brand. So I'm really looking forward.
You're one of the happier drivers from their performance. Well done.
Yeah, okay, cheers.
Lucas Auer finds enough to smile about. He's still up near the front of the grid. Right, the 4 cars are on track, and most have managed to find some clear track space. The Ferraris came out much closer to one another. I think the gap has widened. We were thinking maybe they were looking to tow one another around, but really, for the sake of 1 lap, you can't do that. You've got to get on with your lap and your lap alone.
Yeah, and sorry if we haven't covered it. It's going to be 1 flying lap this session. Yeah. This is another session, but this one only 4 minutes. So we started with 10 minutes. We had 2 sessions of 7. This one's 4. So by the time they've done their out lap, there is less than 2 lap times to go. So it's going to be a 1 lap shootout. Which driver can turn it on quickest? Feel like this man Leclerc maybe took a lap longer than Rovera to get his lap time in, but every session they're learning, they understand what the car's doing. The drop off in tyre is less each session, so that's why I think the pole could still just be in the 18s.
Rovera looking good all session. If you want the history of the McLaren pole position, it's dead easy. It was last year, a Mercedes AMG back in 2022. Raffaele Marciello did the time there. So Tom Fleming then, having been a star in Ferrari 1 make, came to GT World in a Ferrari initially, had that big accident at Misano, and came back from that undaunted, and perhaps even quicker, but he's been a real asset, I think, for Garage 59. But Jules Gounon has got to be regarded as one of the best GT3 drivers in the world. A winner of this in 2017 in an Audi, a winner in 2022 in a Mercedes AMG. And okay, the Mercedes may not look the fastest car, but he's got it through into the top 4.
Yeah, it's a mega achievement. They did have to get out quite early because he's only going to be clear of getting a flying lap in by about 30 seconds. So that was a quick turnaround for the 2Cs Verstappen.com car, and it's going to be a hard one to call, isn't it? It's a beautiful place to be, Spa, but with only 4 cars on track, it's going to feel like bliss, but you know all the eyes are watching you and there's no room for mistakes.
Right, so dead easy this. 4 drivers, 1 lap, 4 times. This is the order. Barring any penalties, then this is going to be how the first 2 rows form up. And Tom Fleming is under investigation again for speeding in the pit lane. That's not the first time we've seen that message. So Arthur Leclerc battered by Alessio Rovera in that first sector by 0.3 of a second. Rovera absolutely flying. He is so hooked up around here this weekend.
That sector 1 is 0.2 quicker than his previous Superpole session. So this is going to be a mega lap so far from Robert. Remember, this is their only chance. You can't do a track limit, otherwise you will finish this last session with a nil point.
Fleming, Gounod, the other 2, and we wait for them to get through sector 1. So Leclerc rides the curb on the plunge downhill towards Pouon there, through that long, long left. Nail the throttle, let the aero do the work, stick the car to the ground. Fleming is quicker than Leclerc in sector 1, but slower than Rovera. So Rovera, Fleming, Leclerc is the order. Gounod has yet to get through sector 1, but he's about to get there, I think, in the Mercedes AMG as he heads out of Le Combe now. But towards Pif-Paf comes the charging Leclerc, and this is heading towards the end of sector 2. The flag is out, so as they break the beam this time, that's the end of Superpole. The grid will be decided. Leclerc absolute best because he's the first through. It's sector 1. Does Rovera go purple or does he go green? He goes purple by another 0.4 of a second. Tom Fleming is quicker than Gounod, so it's going to be a prediction for the grid. Rovera, Leclerc, Fleming, Gounod, but we'll see what Tom can do in that middle sector because he was a 10th up on Leclerc in sector 1. We need to see what the McLaren can do in the other 2 sectors. Leclerc on the way to the line.
Yeah, this is a lap from Rovera at the moment. He's going to be 0.7 quicker than Leclerc. Leclerc's going to give us our benchmark time, but I think it's going to be a mid-19 for the first Ferrari to cross the beam. As it crosses the line now, we see it. It's a 19.2. Where's Rovera going to be? He's going to be in a mid-18. This is going to be a stonking lap. 18.6, faster than his previous session.
Right, Fleming then to see whether he can split the Ferraris. So he's aiming really to be better than Leclerc's 2.92, to be between the 2 of them. Into the chicane he comes. Arthur Leclerc did a 2.19.261. Fleming out of the chicane. Gounod is looking a bit slower than the McLaren, but to the line comes Fleming. Is it good enough? Is he going to be second? He is! He splits the 2 of them. So Fleming goes second on a 2.19.041. So Tom Fleming, gold pole, and the outside of the front row of the grid. And Jules Gounod is heading up towards the line. Sector 1 was the slowest of the 4. Sector 2 was the slowest of the 4. I think we know where he's going to be.
Really surprised there. This car looking loose on the rear. And it's almost like Gounod has resigned. He will know that this lap wasn't good enough, but I think it's the car underneath him. He did so well to be the sole Mercedes into the final 4. He's going to cross the line. It's going to be in the 19s, isn't it? The 19.7 goes 4th as AF Corsa celebrate having 2 cars inside the top 3.
Alessio Rovera is just dynamite. Now, I know this is doing all the praise before we've even got to the start of the race, but he has looked mighty this weekend. And if there's one brand that looks like it is super capable of winning this race, it is Ferrari right now. All the other manufacturers, you're hearing drivers saying, can't find the pace, car doesn't seem to have any grit, don't know where we've lost the time. But Ferrari just having a charmed existence right now.
Yeah, fastest in all 4 Superpole sessions. They were 2nd fastest in combined qualifying yesterday, so they have got a fast car. With all 3 drivers factored into the qualifying yesterday, we know this car is going to be at the sharp end, so we're going to get a Ferrari McLaren front row for the start tomorrow. I'm looking forward to seeing those 2 cars lead 69 cars on this GT3 field for 24 hours.
And of course it was Ferrari that was quickest across free practice. It's always hard to know exactly what to read into that, but the cars were very good indeed yesterday as well. Right then, so the very happy AF Corsa garage with much to celebrate, even though it's early in the weekend, but just knowing that the pace of the car is so good that's going to be important to them. And there, Andrea Bertolini, who used to race, of course, for AF Corsa, now involved in a more managerial and ambassadorial role, celebrating with the Rovera family. Right, it is Alessio Rovera who then is the fastest at the end of Superpole from another absolute star, Tom Fleming, to do what he's done, to take the gold pole as well. Mighty effort. The Arthur Leclerc Ferrari 3rd and Jules Gounod's Mercedes 4th. After that, Frederick Schantorf ahead of Ariel Levi, the silver pole winner, 7th the bronze pole goes the way of Dennis Marshall, and 8th to Lucas Auer. Marvin Kirchhoffer 9th, Alex Arca 10th, Cesar Garzo 11th, ahead of Arjun Maini, then David Perel, Ben Dorr, Guillaume Oliveira, Ricardo Feller, Maurice Schuring, Jordan Pepper and Ayanshan Guven. Mirko Bortolotti, 20th, last year's winner, having a much tougher time this season. And remember, 32 got into Superpole. Some hard luck stories earlier on. Raffaele Marciello bumped out early, as also was Josh Ratikan's car. We lost Max Hesse, but it's all about Ferrari. The Rover Pole Position Award will go to Alessio Rovera. Tom Fleming taking that gold pole, and he's second on the grid from Arthur Leclerc and Jules Gounon.
Small note to add about the Ferrari. The drivers I've spoken to of Ferraris love the air conditioning unit in that car. So it's going to be a factor, driver fatigue, and not only are they fast, but I think they've got a very nice office.
Alessio Rovera out of the car. Jules Gounon, his expression might be somewhat different from Alessio's, but at least he's got it onto the second row of the grid. And it's a long race, and it's about keeping out of trouble and not incurring penalties. So we await a word with Alessio Rovera, who will take off his helmet. The technical team descend to make sure that all the cars that have gone through the requirement for Parc Fermé fit the regulations. Louis Pret celebrating with Tom Fleming. Benji Goethe goes to have a word. Jules Gounon walks over to say well done to Alessio Rovera and keeps on walking. Jules frustrated, but again, good combination of drivers, good strong car, big knowledge bank in the number 3 Mercedes. Chris Lullen, winner of gold last year, part of that driving force. Jules Gounon, a double winner of the event, and Danny Honchedea won it in 22 with Jules Gounon. So they know what they're doing.
Yeah, and 2C's run a very smart outfit down there, don't they? So there'll be a one to watch, not the one lap pace, but it's different over a 65-minute stint, of course. So this story isn't written just yet.
So they're the cars in Parc Fermé conditions. The fans on the rooftop terrace looking down and soaking up the sun and the atmosphere, and the left probably. And we'll have our Rover Pole Position Award to Alessio Rovera, and we'll have a word with him as well. Alessio Rovera did the time, and we'll hear from him and his co-drivers with Bryn.
Well, Alessio, you had your work cut out this afternoon. It's one of those stints. It must have been very tricky out there when we think of the fact that you had the same tyres, the same driver. It was a long stint because of that.
Yeah, well, the conditions were really difficult, honestly, because it was so hot. I didn't expect to have so least of grip. I was sliding quite a lot, but I think it was the same for everyone. And yeah, the key of this Superpole in the end was to do as just one lap per qualifying to have less laps on the tires, and actually it's working well, so I'm pretty happy.
Looking around, Ferrari seems to be the team to beat. Well done. It's now time to get your Rover Pole Position Award. Then this is going to be presented by Rover Brand Ambassador Breitenberg.
Alessio Rovera poses for the photographs, and a bottle of water out of the way. But a great job by Alessio Rovera. Quick and precise as well. You know, we weren't fearful at any point that he was about to lose laps to track limit offences. Rovera knew exactly what to do, and if that was a pressure session, he certainly rose to the occasion. So Alessio Rovera then fastest, and let's hear from our gold pole winner. That's Tom Fleming, and he is with Gwenelle Longy.
Thomas Fleming, congrats on that great Superpole for you guys. You will be starting from pole position in the gold class, and you made it to the top 4 in the Superpole today.
Yeah, I mean the task going in was to try and make it through as high up the grid as possible. You know, it's the grid spreads out pretty quickly during this race, and so yeah, I left nothing on the table for all 4 sessions. Yeah, it felt really good. Car was like, I couldn't ask for any more. Garage 59 have done a really mega job since Tuesday to give us a really strong package, and yeah, just felt nice to not leave anything on the table. So I'm pretty happy with a front row start.
Congrats on that great run. Thank you.
Tom Fleming, another good job, and we're set up. I know we keep talking about the race, but every year the class cars, if you like, gold, certainly silver, to a lesser degree bronze, become more of a factor for an outright position.
Yeah, in qualifying, obviously the race, it starts to work its order out, doesn't it, as you get those lower graded drivers cycling through. But we're talking about the Ferrari of Rovera being the strongest. I think the McLaren is probably the second best brand at the moment around this Spa circuit. Remember, 10 manufacturers represented in GT3 here.
But interesting that Fleming could do what Kirchhoff, last year's pole winner, could not in all of that. But fascinating session. And feedback from some of you at home watching, suggesting that you've enjoyed Superpole. So a change for the regulations for this year, and it's certainly given us an interesting hour, and you know, it becomes the central point of the Friday for the fans here. We got qualifying done yesterday, and rather than not have anything to really focus on Friday for GT World, we can have Superpole instead. So this is the car that's fourth, Jules Gounon, for the Verstappen Racing Mercedes squad. Third to Arthur Leclerc, second to Tom Fleming, and pole to Alessio Rovera. So 32 cars ventured out into Superpole to be whittled down to 6, then 8, and then the last 4. Mathieu Drudi, winner of the event 2 years ago, was a casualty in Superpole 1. So too was Max Hess. Some big names being dumped out early doors. Last year's winner, Marco Bortolotti, still struggling for the outright pace in his Lamborghini. Raffaele Marciello, a winner of the event, he would be out too, and so also Ricardo Fella. Jordan Pepper nearly squeezed in, but he was another big name with that walk of shame down the pit lane with Raffaele Marciello. Ricardo Fella struggling to progress much further in the Porsche. Arjun Maini had a good go in the Ford Mustang, but he wouldn't make it through to SP4, and Cesar Gazzo's good pace to get into SP2 eventually unravelled. All the way through the session, Alex Arca had looked good, but not as good as his teammate Ariel Levi in the sister car, and Marvin Kirchhoff couldn't make it 2 poles in a row. He was gone. Lucas Auer got as far as SP3. That was as far as the number 48 Monza winning Manfilter backed Mercedes would go. Ariel Levi then was on target for the silver pole position. The venerable Audi looking good. If he was the silver pole winner, Dennis Marshall would take bronze. The Kessel Racing Ferrari fending off a challenge of Frederick Schandorf. And so, the Superpole for the final 4 cars. Jules Gounon battled on in the Mercedes AMG, but fourth was as good as it would get. Arthur Leclerc took third, and an inspired second was Tom Fleming in the McLaren that would also net the gold pole position. But there was no stopping this man. Alessio Rovera has looked mighty all weekend, and it's pole position for Ferrari, it's pole position for Alessio Rovera. So the Ferrari having had an outstanding session. 1 or 2 of the other teams now go away and have a think, but for Ferrari, there's a lot to reflect on, and a lot of good things to reflect on. Their first pole provisionally since 2017 at James Calado effort, going back to the days of the 4-8-8. But for Porsche, for BMW particularly, and Mercedes to a lesser degree, a really tough day. They all expected, I think, to be higher up.
Yes, and now they've got to get their strategy right in the race, and that was so important last year, wasn't it? Getting the stops right, timing the full course yellow pit stops, which save you so much time. So the engineers now have one more sleep on it on how they're going to run their race strategy.
Alessio Rovera joined by Nicholas Nielsen and Tommaso Mosca, so it's a good combination of drivers that. Arthur Leclerc, Sean Galal, Lilo Wadu in the sister car. And as we've already made the point, because we saw them congratulating him, Tom Fleming, Louis Pret and Benji Goethe. So that is not quite the last time the cars hit the track, because we still have the warm-up session to go today, but we're getting closer to race day for the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa. A 69-strong field is going to go into battle tomorrow at 4:30 with a Ferrari on pole position.